today. We're really excited to have everyone here. I'm Debbie Winters. I'm the chair of the Swanton Enhancement Project. I don't know, Molly, do you want to, should we go around the room?
I think that'd be great. Yeah. I'm Molly Lambert, and I've been involved with the Swanton Enhancement Project since its very beginning. And Sandy Kilburn would immediately say she can't be here this evening, but she would immediately say, I had 6 people in my living room, and look what we've done. Go ahead, Ed. Ed.
Your turn, Ed.
You're introducing yourself.
Introduce yourself.
Pardon?
Introduce yourself.
Oh, Ed Daniel, Swanton.
Earl Fournier, Swanton Select Board.
I am Nicole Draper. I'm also on the Swanton Select Board, but I'm also the Executive Director for Swanton Recreation.
Joel Clark, got involved with SEP in 2015, so I'm a latecomer, but treasurer as well.
Shelley Robtoy, Darcy Benoit,
Crystal Lampman, Maddie Lampman, Abby Goddard, Swanton Public Library.
I'm Terry O'Shea, the Swanton School Board, the MBSD School Board.
Hank Lambert, Beautification Committee of the Swanton Enhancement Project.
Chris Sweeney, Swanton.
My name is Nick Fresco. I'm on the Swanton Chamber of Commerce and Historical Society.
Karen Blow, I am living my best life.
And I'm Kirsten Bush.
Living your best life?
I'm always living my best life.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of the July 7th meeting. It's hard to believe that was the last time we met, but that doesn't mean that not a lot has happened since then. A lot has happened, but has everyone had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any revisions? And if not, would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Molly, and do I have a second?
Second.
And Crystal, and any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And the finance update with Joel.
Okay. First, I'm going to start just passing on. I didn't make too many copies because I don't think people really take them home and collect them, so I just made 3 of each. The eye test is the overall finance numbers, and then the other, it's 2-sided, is the restricted funds. So you can take a look as these start around. That going that way. You should have one other one. All right, so I guess there's just 2. And if you really want a copy, take one of them home. So, not too much since May as far as, probably wrote out about 4 checks and made about 3 deposits. The bottom line on the unrestricted funds is we have $8,700.13. That's $8,713. And on the restricted funds, we have $12,455.29. So I won't spend a lot of time talking about the unrestricted, because that's just what it is. We can use that for anything we want. And then on the restricted funds, that's the 2-sided. It's single-sided I'm holding, but it's 2-sided, so you can look on the back. Sign and bike racks. Part of that was a Vermont Rise Vermont grant. We have a balance of $38,8895. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, but that's the balance there. Capacity building, we still have $1,477.25. Substance abuse has $1,567.99. Beautification has $1648.48. Marble Mill, the chamber gave us a donation for $815 on that nice chilly day down at the beach. So that, we should take a look and see what we might want to do with that. Grant writing, we have $57.62. And then the mural, the Spark, got the money approved to stay with us for another year for $3,000. So some of these balances have not moved in quite a while. One thing I think we could consider doing under the sign and bike racks is I'm putting together a grant for the town of Swanton that's due on the 1st of November. And as I was preparing this report today, I said, you know what? If we were to put some of that money into that grant, we could more than double the money. If we put 3,000 or 3,500, the state will match that. More than match it. It's a 20% cost share.
Yeah.
So we could turn 3,500 into a lot bigger sum.
What's the grant for, Joel? Sorry.
I think it was for bike racks and
No,
signage.
no, the one you had.
Oh, the grant? Oh, I'm sorry, yes, the grant is for the western, we call it the western terminus of the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail.
Okay.
Would be a parking area, about 20 spots. It's about 12 spots and then 4 for trucks and trailers, because you can have horses there and you can have snowmobiles, so it's a combination. Be a picnic pavilion there. It's just what we need now that, you know, that end of the trail is done.
Yeah.
So if we were to take some of this money and match it, then we can get more done under that grant.
Joel?
Yes?
Excuse me, I saved the, Betsy's not here tonight, but Betsy and I were involved in that $3,800. There were 2 grants. One was for bike rack, and the other one was for a kiosk for the LVR. You know, we thought about the LVRT, so that would be great to leverage that money, because that's what we told Rise Vermont it was for, so it would be like really great.
Yeah, I think so. And then I would ask that under the grant writing, that 5762, it's just a residual amount of dollars, we just put that back into the unrestricted monies, because that's not gonna get us anything as far as grant writing. I could buy me a couple of sheets of paper, but that's about it. So that's where we are as far as the restricted funds.
Could that, is it out of order to make what you just described into a motion?
I don't think it's out of order. I could write that into the grant. You know, I can work on it some more tonight. We've already listed SEP as a partner working for this trail and got a nice letter of support, but now that I think of it, it just makes all the sense in the world to leverage that money and, yeah.
And it seems like Rise agrees, or Chris was saying that was in their heads when that grant was allocated.
Yeah, I think it would be quite appropriate, and I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts, but to me, that money's been sitting there for a while, and we've actually listed for 4 separate signs, because but we're trying to work with the state, and we asked them when they came up and walked the site with us, can we put other signs around the town that talk about the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail, but other things about Swanton as well, and they thought that would be okay, so it all fits.
Yeah, and the reason Betsy and I didn't move ahead on the kiosk idea was because then all this happened with forestry and the LVRT being finished and this, you know, so it didn't make any sense to move ahead until we were further along in the process.
Yeah.
So, Molly, are you suggesting that Joel makes a motion?
I'll make the motion that we put $3,500 toward the it's called the municipal grant, the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail Municipal Grant. And then we'll get the other, it's more than a match, because it's 20% of the total, so.
What's the total? I think that's it. What's the total of that amount that we had restricted? Was
It's
30?
$38,8895.
And it was specifically for those uses, right? Bike racks and.
As far as I know, I don't, usually when those grants come in, I haven't been given the paperwork, I've been given the stuff to deposit, but I know it was the way I wrote it right here is sign and bike racks, outdoor
Yeah,
rack.
Elizabeth was involved, and I mean, we could probably go back and find something, but yeah, that's what it was for.
Molly, was there any reason not to use the whole amount? That's the 38 that's designated for it?
I don't know what else.
We haven't had anything on the table
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
probably 3 years we've had this money and
Do you?
Not?
Joel, do you want it 35, or would you like to
I'll
amend?
make the motion that we put $3,800 toward the municipal grant for the Mohawk Valley Rail Trail.
That makes sense to me.
I'll second.
And any discussion?
It's really exciting.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, okay. Hank seconded, right?
Yeah.
To use the 3,800. Okay, and for the grant, okay. The next item on the agenda is the discussion of the Kilburn Lambert Community Service Award. Hank and Molly, you wanted to talk about that?
Yeah.
I know the agenda says that we're going to discuss the award, but we actually had a selection committee, and Debbie and Betsy Fournier, who's not here, came up with a nominee, and we're here to present the award tonight.
And
And we've got a little, Debbie's going to give us a little background about the award itself. And
but you were going to mention that Sandy and Ron were so excited to
Yeah.
be here tonight.
right, yeah. Sandy had an episode of dizziness and so on, and just couldn't make it. And anyway, it's so Debbie, why don't you?
SEP established the Community Service Award in 2020, and it was to be presented annually. It was established to recognize years of leadership and dedication to creating a more vibrant Swanton. The award was named in honor of Sandy and Ron Kilburn and Hank and Molly Lambert, founding members of SEP, for their efforts through the years to build a more vibrant community. The award was presented to them as a complete surprise at our community gathering in February of 2020. But along came COVID, and we haven't had a chance to present this award since, and to hold an in-person gathering until now.
Yeah. So tonight it is it's our privilege, really our privilege, to make this presentation this evening to someone who has just gone so far beyond and above service to the citizens of our community. And now it's your turn. It was supposed to, see, Sandy and Ron were supposed to be here, and we had this all paced out. And Betsy was supposed to be here. So anyway, we've had to
Anyway, our nominee and his family moved to Swanton in 1994. During the next 28 years, he served his community in many ways. He served on the Planning Commission for more than a decade, the Zoning Board of Adjustment and Design Review Board, and the Select Board for 7 years. He served his country for 3+ decades as a member of the Armed Services, with more than 23 years as a citizen soldier in the Vermont Air National Guard.
But that wasn't enough. When SEP was formed, he was on the select board and asked if he would represent the select board at the SEP meetings. And it was an enthusiastic yes, he would. He brought his leadership, his vision, his energy to an organization that was just beginning. And because of that, we got a lot done. Betsy would have different words for how much we got done in those years, but we got a lot done. And that takes courage, it takes leadership, it takes passion about making Swanton better. And no one exemplified it more than this guy who knows who we're talking about now. But it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. He's the lead one of the key negotiators to make sure that the 4th Street property is effectively used for the community. He's working with the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. There was a third one that I can't remember. That new community center thing. That thing that the select board just earmarked $600,000 for. Yeah. So at any rate, this is long overdue. But we didn't give out the award for those years when COVID struck. So anyway, this is Ron Kilburn's part that I'm going to read because I haven't had a chance to, digest it and say it without notes. But from Ron, therefore, it is with great honor that the Swanton Enhancement Project
presents the 2022 Kilburn Lambert Community Service Award to Joel Clark. The plaque reads, "For his years of leadership and dedication to creating a more vibrant Swanton. Time will never erase the work he has accomplished here and the lives he has positively affected."
If I could just, real quick, I don't like the recognition. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just do it because I feel like I should. But it's really what you people do that inspires me. We are lucky to have a lot of people who donate their time trying to improve Swanton. So thank you all very much for what you do, and I look forward to several more years of improvements. So thank you.
Thank you.
You got a beautiful family back there.
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah.
Come forward.
They put up with a lot of you.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
I know
Oh, yeah.
Molly and Hank are getting ready to celebrate 50th on the 18th of November. I think, how many years? 4 decades on the 27th of November.
Too far away. And want to thank Nicole Gadwa who painted
Very nice.
beautiful swan.
And Debbie's idea to get something that no one else will have. An
What
original
a
art
unique.
piece.
Very nice.
Those bats in the
That's the
background maybe don't make the best.
Where's Nate? Do you want to, can you come up here?
Oh, sure.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Might want to move from the bats. What do you think?
From the bat maker? Where should we?
The bats are in the background.
It's Halloween.
It's all your schwartzwag.
Alright. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Continue to do.
Okay.
Wow.
didn't know it was gonna, but
No, you can't go now, Chris.
you can't go now.
You gotta grab some food first.
So sweet. So swell.
Oh, so for I don't know if everyone knows, but Nicole Gadwa painted that swan.
And Darcy helped get it. And
Coordinated it,
Debbie.
get the
Yeah.
black on it, and it was a.
Yeah. We've been at this for a while.
Yeah.
This is, this is not simple.
So quickly on to the next item is the review of the current steering committee membership and the election of officers and the proposed slate. I don't think we have any changes to the steering committee here. I haven't.
Well, Kirsten is here.
We have we have community openings.
Yeah.
So
Living the best life.
it is.
No, it's Karen that's living the best life. Kirsten's trying to live up.
I'm sorry, I haven't, we didn't, oh boy, I'm not prepared for that, but we do have community openings, and I know we have community members here, so,
Yeah.
we would welcome, additional membership if you'd like to think about it, or if you'd like to join. Sorry to put you guys on the spot, but anyway, how does that work, Molly?
I don't.
It's been so long since we.
Right. Well, one of the things that we're gonna talk about tonight at the very end, if you can hang in there, is, more community engagement. And having Tim here is one of those ways of gaining community engagement and letting more people know if you can stay for the reports that people give around the table. These are great partners in our community. You will be so energized by the time you leave that you can't wait to come back. So anyway, if you're interested, I would just give Debbie a call and she can tell you what the, what the work is yeah. There's no big formal process in that regard. But the officers, on the other hand.
It's the same slate as last year. It's me continuing as chair, Betsy as vice chair, Joel continuing as treasurer. I just assumed.
How can I say no right now? I think Shelley and I talked about transitioning
I know
and
it's-
we never
Yeah,
got
we
together
never
and did
did
it,
it,
but,
He's doing a great job, isn't he, everyone?
no,
Yeah.
stop. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
And then we still do have an open secretary position if anyone.
And I really want to advocate that we have a secretary or at least have people rotate that responsibility so that we don't have a chair who is also playing secretary, also playing administrator, also playing snack bringer, meeting location. And I know from working with my volunteer fun fair committee, we had doers around the table. And so I know many people shy away from the minute responsibility, but it's every other month. And it would really take a load off our chair. And I'd like to lighten that load. So think about it. It's not a life-changing responsibility, but it is a very important role. Record keeping is a very important thing. So somebody should nominate the slate. Debbie wrote to us.
And these are one-year terms, right?
Yep.
I'd be happy to nominate. So I nominate, I've got my agenda it right here, just a second. Wow, I thought I did. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I nominate Debbie Winters as chair, Betsy Fournier as vice chair, Joel Clark as treasurer, and secretary I nominate, anybody want to volunteer right now? I'd be happy to do it half the year, but I'm gone half the year, so I can't do it the other half.
Well, there you go. Is anyone willing to job share with Terry?
I gotcha.
Thank you, Siobhan.
Thank you. And Siobhan, thank you, and Terry O'Shea as secretary.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know, I'm weak.
You're gonna have to teach me some things.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, would anyone like to second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, we'd like to welcome Tim Smith. Thanks, Tim, for, are we on time? And Tim is with FCIDC. And in the time I've been here, I don't think we've had you here, so I'm really excited. It's been a long time since FCIDC has come to speak to SEP, so this is exciting. And we talked about, speaking about your focus on community and economic development throughout Franklin County. So, thank you, Tim.
The other reason I showed, I knew there was that secretary vacancy. If I didn't show, I thought maybe I never got nominated for it.
It's possible you do everything else.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. And then I had, as I sat down, I had concerns. I don't know if Hank and Molly are fighting, being on opposite sides of the table. And I took Hank's seat here, so I don't know. Thanks for having me. Molly and I had a long conversation this summer, talked about this group and moving forward with activities. In the meantime, during that period of time, Franklin County Industrial Development sort of reevaluated our strategic plan moving forward. And it's not a strategic plan for the economy per se, it was a strategic plan for the organization. And what we did was we pulled together 10 community panels. We had about 6 or 8 people on each panel, and we talked about 10 different topics. And I won't be able to tell you all 10, but there was education, healthcare, manufacturing, social services, millennials, retail. There was a number. So we met with folks. We had panels for an hour and a half, and we had discussions about similar questions on all. And what we heard, for the most part, was that finding help was the number one. That's no surprise to anyone by any means. But we also learned that a lot of people questioned our current mission, which was more focused on business recruitment, business retention, and capital investment. And the concern is, and I know everyone's probably thinking about beta coming into the county, but the concern was if we're recruiting more business and we don't have current people to fill, how does that play out? And part of the discussion was maybe it was recommended on a number of different fronts that FCIDC should probably focus energies on recruiting people to the region, whether it's families or employees, whatever the case is, focus on that. Marketing campaigns about what Franklin County has to offer, and try to entice the area that, to bring people that way. A part of that was also a portion, so not as much industrial development, although we're not going to leave that behind by any means. We still have a 93-acre industrial park where we have one building getting started, and I think there'll be another one started in the spring. But and this has been a gradual process. This did not happen just when we started the started the strategic plan, but over the past 4 or 5 years, we found ourselves being more and more engaged in communities and downtowns, with the theory also being that, you know, attractive downtowns, you know, places where people want to be will be an incentive for people to move to the region as well, to help fill some of those voids. So some of the things that we've done over time, I'll start with Swanton. You know, Joel, you talked about the parking area. I think we paid a portion of the engineering for that, so with $1,000 or $1,500, whatever it was, we had a grant. We had $15 on the table for the Abenaki food shelf, and to help them do their expansion as well. We donated a bench to Debbie in the playground. And then the bigger one was probably the Memorial Building project, where we received a $20,000 grant from the state, and then we being FCIDC put another 10 into it, so we had $30,000, of which we paid $15,000 for engineering for Dave Fosgate to sort of build his building on site and look at what that might look like, and then we took the other 15 to help offset the moving costs for Elaine Morissette, to allow, you know, to find a home for them within the community, and then allow for the memorial to move forward and have that anchor tenant in the downtown area. Other areas, we just committed $20,000 to Richford. It's $10,000 per year for 2 years, and we did that in conjunction with Historic Preservation, or the Preservation Trust of Vermont, where we each year there's $20,000 going into Richford to offset the cost of a town administrator. Historically, Richford has been run just by a select board, and we felt that not just us, but many parties throughout the state felt the need for someone to be to go and sell the idea of having a town administrator to help them really pull the pieces together and start moving forward. And they've had successes already. Their town manager, they've gone without a bank for 5-6 years. I don't know how long it's been since TD Bank closed. They now have New England Federal Credit Union going into Richford. They're taking a spot in the old post office building. So that's just one minor success. They've had many other projects as well. So that's one. We also contributed $15,000 up in Bakersfield for the Brigham Academy to come up with plans for potential housing. I'm not sure where that stands now, but at least they have plans that they can move forward when they're applying for grants and hopefully generate more income. I think I'm missing 1 or 2 others, but those are, and then we just bought the block. We bought the Pearly block up in Enosburg. The Pearly block was a building of where the Enosburg Pharmacy used to be. It's been vacant for 7 years, and so we bought that. We're renovating it. Franklin Northeast Supervisory Union is moving into it within 2 weeks. We have 2 retail spots. We have one of those spots filled that will be open. The individual will be moving in 2 weeks as well. So we have a lot going, and in that building we have 8 apartments upstairs too that we'll continue to renovate, and we will hopefully add 5 units as well. So those are some things we're focused on, the downtowns. You know, Swanton, Enosburg, Richford. Those are some of the key components that we've been focused on, as well as you know, obviously working with the city of St. Albans on some of their projects as well. So that's sort of where we're going. We hope to have more funds to help distribute in coming years. We have 2 of our industrial buildings that will probably be sold within the next 6 years, 5 or 6 years. So that will give us some additional funding to help reinvest in communities moving forward. If I was to leave you with anything, it's the fact that we're always open to the discussion. Oh, and another one I forgot. So if you may have read a lot about what's going on in Montgomery, bringing water and sewer, and they're trying to keep all their ducks in a row. And I think for those who know Charlie Hancock, who's the chair of the select board up in Montgomery, he's coming to our board meeting on Tuesday, and I think the outcome of that is we will give them a $10,000 grant to help. I mean, they really have many pieces of puzzles that have to be brought together, and that 10,000 will help, you know, cover certain expenditures that maybe they hadn't planned for in this whole process. So we'll have 10,000 invested, and I get it's not a lot, but we look at that money as sort of a catalyst to help get a project out of the ground. You know, up in Bakersfield, it was huge for them to hire an engineer or a consultant to put the housing plan together, so they can go to CDBG, they can go to EDA, and they can present that. So it's sort of that seed money that's going to make a difference moving forward. And our board is totally on board with this philosophy. But I would reinforce that we're not forgetting about the industrial piece. We have potentially two. We continue to, the other problem we have is that in Franklin County, we have no vacant buildings. In the last 6 months, I've had calls for 60,000 square feet accumulated, you know, 20 here, 10 here, 5 there, that we could have filled if we had vacant space, and we have no vacant space. So we're focused on potentially, hopefully, building spec buildings. Kevin, you know, it's hard to get spec building financing. And there's many conversations going on the state level with the governor, Agency of Commerce, to potentially come up with some of that money. I'm looking at Earl. The other one I forgot was we've talked about doing a planning study for that exit 20 area for Swanton, St. Albans Town, utilizing city infrastructure. So nothing's cast in stone, but we talked about us possibly coming forward with $7,500 to act as a match for a planning grant for that region, and see how that should roll. So we are open to conversations. We're open to proposals, and like I said, we understand it's not huge money, but it could be seed money. Chris?
So, I don't know if this falls under your auspices or whatever, but the Highgate Shopping Center continues to lose retail, and it's like 3/4 empty. Are there any opportunities or thoughts of trying to convert that to something usable?
There's a lot of preliminary discussions, as is the case with the INS building.
Okay.
And as is the case now with St. Mary's Church.
Right.
So St. Mary's Church and that property is, for those who don't know, St. Mary's Church is closing as of the Sunday after Thanksgiving. I've yet to figure out why it couldn't go to Christmas, but I don't think the building's in that dire a strait where it will fall in the next four weeks. But
Missing a big collection.
yeah, it could have been a big collection. That's
It
right.
could have been.
I'm always thinking about money. And the housing has come up sort of like a Williston, where you've got that, where L.L. Bean went, and the housing and everything else, that potentially that could be more. Part of the problem that we're facing, and we haven't delved into it that much, Chris, but part of the problem you face is that with the INS building and with the Highgate Shopping Center is you have developers who are set up in New York or Texas or wherever it might be, and they have 100 properties, and if they're paying the bills, it's not a priority to move it forward.
Yeah, it just is becoming, I don't want to call it an eyesore really, but it's kind of an eyesore, you know? It's this huge, we all know. So anyways, I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, I think long-term, it will definitely be more of a conversation piece, but until you get them to engage, it's tough to move it forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know if folks have questions.
Tim, just a little history on your part, and diagnosis too. But the history of industrial development corporations is something worth knowing. It's a statewide network, and the emphasis was absolutely having the industrial parks, getting those buildings and getting the industrial tenants in those buildings. And so when you say a change, I think what you're focused on is the underpinning. What you can't fill those buildings, well, you have filled the building, but yeah, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, you don't need me when you have Molly.
No, you go ahead.
But to Molly's point, right, I mean, you can talk economic development all you want, you can talk about jobs, but if you don't have the housing, you don't have the childcare, you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the transportation methods, so all that plays in, and that came out of our strategic plan as well. Thank you for sharing that. So I think we're starting either semi-annually or quarterly, we will be bringing parties from all of those sectors together semi-annually or quarterly to talk about what is going on in broadband, what's going on in transportation. People who are, FCIDC sort of hangs out at that 30,000 foot level, and we dip our toe in a lot of different areas, but we don't, outside of industrial parks and buildings, we don't really delve into the housing conversation. Although we're in tune with it, we have those conversations, but those meetings we're gonna have is we're gonna pull people together, and we're really gonna say, okay, what is happening? How can we help? You know, how can we bring other parties to the table? So the focus is gonna be more on that sub-economic development, if you will, than just the focus on creating jobs.
Right, it is economic development, I think, is the point. It's not that the end goal has changed. You want everybody within an area to be gainfully, happily employed, and you want them to succeed and be able to stay in those roles for a long time. That's how businesses.
So the word we use many times is we want people to prosper. We want improved prosperity for all.
Right.
And that's sort of the key for us.
When you talk about transportation, I think public transportation in this county is lacking, to say it quite frankly. And how do you see growth in public transportation? If you want full employment, if you want more people working, I think public transportation would be a good thing.
Yeah, no, I'll give, and this isn't county specific, but I'll give you a prime example, is that there's a company in Franklin County that utilizes New American. So they're being transported from Chittenden County, Winooski area to fill jobs that they have difficult time filling this region. Most of the New Americans are temp employees. So they work for the temp service, they're great employees. The employer wants to convert them to full-time employees, give them a higher wage, give them more benefits. But as soon as that happens, their transportation is gone. Because it's the temp service that's putting them on vans, transporting them every day, bringing them to St. Albans, and then transporting them back. As soon as they go full-time, that transportation's gone, and many of them don't have a license to begin with. So the example of that would be, and we've talked to the state, we've talked to the governor, why can't we get a bus coming out of Chittenden County if we have the jobs here and transport them so that they can make a better wage, have benefits and all that. And then the other one is Richford, getting a lot of us up in Enidburg, Richford on a regular basis, so they can come down to the Swanton Industrial Park, St. Albans, Georgia Industrial Park, whatever the case might be. Right now, there's only one bus that goes to Richford and comes back. And if you're starting time or you're on a second shift, it doesn't do you much good. So there's a lot of room for improvements when it comes to transportation, just as there is for childcare, housing, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and it seems to be all focused around St. Albans, which makes sense because that's the industrial hub of the county. But if you're like an immigrant worker and you want to commute to a place like Swanton, it's basically impossible.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
If I may add to the transportation discussion, I have an 18-year-old, and when he was working because he could find work in St. Albans, like, he had to take a bus at a certain time, and then I mean, there's one, so I don't know if this is a question for you guys necessarily, but Green Mountain Transportation, you know, like, it'd be nice if we did just have at least one more run between Swanton, Alberg, and St. Albans, because, like, you get stuck there. If you miss that one, kids get stuck there, and, you know, that's really what helps growth. Like, when I moved to Burlington, I knew my car was gonna die. I felt it. It died 3 days later. And when I moved there, I did it because it had the bus system, and that bus system got me, you know, to a job that got me the car I've had for 7 years now. But without that transportation, I'd probably still be struggling in Burlington. So if we could like keep that on our forethoughts, it's a good point. Like even just one more trip in between, and not necessarily at 6 in the morning.
And I think the other thing you're seeing to both those points is your employers are being a lot more flexible, right? If they get good help, they're gonna be a little more flexible on what that schedule is coming in from Alberg. You know, maybe it gets in at St. Albans or Swanton at 8 o'clock, and the shift is supposed to start at 7. I think you find that a lot of employers, for people to show up and have been good employees, they will alter their expectations to accommodate some of those needs, and I think childcare fits into that, transportation. I think there's a lot of things where we're seeing employers being a lot more flexible just because they have a hard time finding help, good help.
I was just going to say that I remember years ago with the volunteering at United Way, and I remember transportation was one of the things that came up, and it was really hard to try. Like they've worked it out in Chittenden County where they have some great transportation, and United Way was at the table. But to come up here, there just aren't the same resources to work with, to leverage, or to do anything about it. I remember being really frustrating.
Yeah, I think Green Mountain Power, or Green Mountain Transit, not Power, is always looking for who's going to cover the tab, right?
Yes.
Is it going to be communities? Is it going to be businesses?
It's huge.
And it's a question that people aren't quick to respond to.
Right. Good point.
I know that I spent 6 years working at CCB, and that was the #1 issue we had, was all of these high school students, everybody wanted to better their lives, gather there, learn, and they just couldn't get there. I mean, it's nice now the pandemic happened, lots of stuff's moved online, but that is a big struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
So, is there any movement on the Welcome Center idea, plan? I don't know if it's FCIDC, is it select board, or?
There's two things that we are working with the state on. One is the Welcome Center, and one is the Franklin County Field Days. So I don't think it's telling secrets out of school, but Franklin County Field Days this August may be their last one.
Right.
They're going to be pushed out of that spot by V-Trans, and part of the logic, and it's not just V-Trans, I think it's FFA as well. Right, did I get my initials right, Kevin?
FSO.
FAA. What is it?
FAA.
FAA, thank you. Which one was yours?
Which one were you
The
talking about?
FSO?
FSO is the designation for the airport.
Oh, but all that land is with aviation, the land has to have some type of percentage relative to being involved in aviation. So they're looking for businesses that are gonna paint planes or repair planes. So a portion of your business has to be aviation oriented. And that's why, people know more about this, just jump in, but I think that's why Habitat for Humanity had to move out. That's why you're seeing the field days are having to move out. So it's V-Trans oriented with the airport division and FAA. So that's one. I'm getting to your question, Chris. So we're having a conversation. I think we have a meeting in November to talk to the Franklin County Field Days Board. We're trying to find money to do a plan, to do a planning study to see where they could move to, what the needs are and all that. And then the Welcome Center is the other one that we being FCIDC has been pushing hard for. For those who don't know, you have every major thoroughfare coming into Vermont has a Welcome Center or a rest area. So if you go to Whitehall, New York, and you come back on Route 4, and there's a nice one there, and there's one 91 down by, there's one Springfield, Hartford, Guildhall, coming across the border in Derby. We're the only major thoroughfare, and I don't consider Georgia,
Yeah.
I don't consider that one, because it's, so the state did finally get to the point where they did a study, and they did come to the conclusion that a rest area is needed in northwest Vermont. And they would eliminate the Georgia southbound one, and they're looking to locate one between Swanton, exit 21, and the Highgate border, only on the southbound side, not on the northbound side. So it's in the, they're evaluating opportunities for land, and it is on their acting list, their project list, if you will, which, if you look at within an hour of that Highgate border crossing, you have 5 million people. And my argument has always been that no other rest area, and you got one coming in Waterford, Vermont, just outside of St. Johnsbury, there's one there. There's no other rest area welcome center that has the population base that we have within an hour's drive. And that in itself, a lot of buzzwords you hear in the legislature now are rural economic development. So the rural is Swanton, St. Albans, Highgate, Richford, Enosburg, and that is, so we're trying to get that welcome center, educate people about what's here before they get to Georgia or Chittenden County. And try to point them to the islands, go to the islands down Route 2, point them to Montgomery, point them to Enosburg, and try to educate them. So I think I would be very disappointed if within the next year you don't hear some type of announcement.
That's awesome.
Another thing I think could help the economy in St. Albans town, the Hannaford Center is, the Hannaford area is making it more friendly to pedestrians. It's basically impossible if you want to walk between like Price Chopper or Hannaford's or Walmart. It's dangerous. Like I'm shocked no one's. I've seen people cross that road, and I'm shocked no one's been hit.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I live in the city of St. Albans, and I drive on that route, and hardly a day goes by when I drive it and I don't see someone on the side of the road.
Not hurt, just trying to cross the road.
Or walking from the city out to Walmart or Price Chopper. The issue there is, part of the issue is the town of St. Albans doesn't want sidewalks. I mean, that's been pushed for years in St. Albans town. St. Albans town doesn't want them, and this is no secret. They don't want to maintain sidewalks. So they don't. I mean, we put a nice new sidewalk through the industrial park in St. Albans town. It doesn't get plowed in the winter time. They have no interest. So I'm throwing the town under the bus here, in that they just have no interest in having a sidewalk there. Where they have a study, they might move forward here soon. But in terms of what you're talking about, you'll see the rest area before you see sidewalks.
Is
In my
Walmart in the town of St. Albans? I know, I just attended with other people, I don't think they were here, the planning commission meeting, and Corey Parent was telling us that with new development, they're requiring places to put in sidewalks, for example, the sidewalk to nowhere in front of Walmart. And, for future development, so if they continue with that, that could be good, just little piece at a time.
No, you're right.
as it
So
develops.
every time you add on to a building, you need to put a sidewalk. So that's, if you look at Andy Buick has a sidewalk
Yeah.
from one end of their parking lot to the other, that's it. Walmart's the same thing. So any new development, and who knows how long that's gonna take. In the industrial park, we were able to put the sidewalk in because we had 3 businesses doing major expansions. One was gonna start and end here, the other was gonna start and end here, and you had a gap in between. The one across the street was gonna put one here, so we would have 3 sidewalks to nowhere. We went forward to Act 250 and said, and the company, Barry Calabo, we said, would you give us your amount of money you're gonna spend on your sidewalk? Let us put it on the other side of the road and connect everything, and they were willing to do that. So that's why if you're in the industrial park, that's why you have one long sidewalk that goes from the railroad tracks down to past Ben and Jerry's. So it's there, but if we hadn't stepped forward, you would have had, Ben and Jerry's would have had one to the edge of their property, Peerless would have had the one to the edge of their property, and across the street, Barry Caliber would have had a 200-yard sidewalk. But you are exactly right. So any new development, you know, depending, once again, there's not a lot on the radar to be, that you're gonna connect Walmart to Price Chopper. You know, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of development in there. If it's already there, no one's responsible for putting a sidewalk in, unless the town steps forward and does that. But yeah, so you talk about the town, you talk about sidewalks, you talk about walkable communities and Memorial Valley Rail Trail and everything. I think that's gonna be a huge. We're seeing a lot more in tourism from Franklin County. If you look, downtown St. Albans, the rail trails, all that, we're seeing a lot more activity. Wedding barns are huge. I mean, I've heard of half a dozen new barns that have gone up. You know, one's in Milton, but still they're all full. So I think that weddings are a destination is part of the county as well. So.
I'd like to just disagree with you for a moment on the Welcome Center up there. I spent 25 years working at the border. And if we saw, in those 25 years, if I saw 10 cars leave the border and stop at the rest area in Highgate Springs, that was it. The guys over there would take turns sleeping on their shifts during the day because there was no business. All they did was mow the lawn, keep the restrooms clean. That was about it. I'd rather see that money put into a man's or family salary and station him in Montreal, where the offices of the big companies are, where the offices of the big corporations are, where he can get up and go there in the morning. I'm representing the state of Vermont. I'd like to introduce myself. If you're ever thinking of coming south, here's my card. My office is down on St. Laurent Street or somewhere like that. And he's right there. He can talk to those people. When they're at the border, the most important question they ask you is, where is Ben and Jerry's? Now, the other things that they now have in where they give a gas station a sign to put out front. Information, we're open 24 hours. I went to the one in Montpelier, just out of curiosity one day. And some of you know the answer to this question, but not everybody in this room. And I asked them, how do I get to Tickle Naked Pond, one of Vermont's prime recreation sites? And the person behind the counter looked at me and says, I don't know. So I says, okay. How do I get to New Hampshire? What's the easiest road to New Hampshire? It's obvious, Route 2. I don't know. So I'm thinking of how many people went there and probably asked for Ben and Jerry's, and I told them keep going south another 20 miles or something. I don't know. But I was very disappointed in it. And I think if we had a person up there in the city, Chamber of Commerce in Montreal is a big deal. They have a cocktail hour. You tell this guy, you go there. You bring your family with you. We'll rent a place for you. But you gotta be where they are. I feel that way.
So there is someone in Montreal? The state is?
No, I swear I think they should be.
No, there is someone. I'm telling
Okay.
you, there is. The state had $300,000 set aside, and they have a company representing Vermont in Montreal.
A company representing Vermont.
At the start.
Is he a Vermonter?
No, he's not. But he speaks French.
Yeah, well, that's a little help up there.
Speaks
yeah.
French.
Yeah.
So this is a start. Molly will tell you, Chamber had someone up there years.
Yeah.
And my comment is, if you don't have a rest area, you're not gonna get anyone.
We have it right there at the border. They ask us, where's the rest area? What are those doors right there?
What doors?
At the border.
No, I'm not talking rest, I'm talking, welcome center.
Okay,
You
if you
cross the
wanna-
border, you're welcomed. I would argue that the border is not very welcoming, personally.
Well, of course not.
So we need, and
But-
if we don't have something, we're never gonna get them.
Yeah, well, I just think that, go up into the city, go after them up there, that's where their offices are. I think we
But
get
you're
more for the
talking-
money.
You're talking business recruitment.
Right, not
Welcome
tourism.
center is families,
Yep.
couples,
Right.
looking to get married, whatever the case is.
And Dad's sitting there behind the wheel saying, "Be quiet, we're almost there."
Well, where's there?
It's usually below Burlington.
That's what we're trying to change.
Yeah, let's change it.
Well, and that's where I think we need to think about that development of the Hannaford Plaza, because we, for years, saw so many Canadians coming down to shop in that plaza, and with nothing there, people go to Burlington. You know, we just lost the craft store, and I was just saying to my daughter today, looking for something.
But that's
I
my
wouldn't be able to find
opinion.
it at Joann's, and now I have to go to Burlington for that. So I do think that needs to be a thought. Keeping
No,
in mind, yeah.
Retail is all different now. I was surprised here, I thought Joann's was very busy.
Yeah.
I don't know what led to the,
My understanding is they wanted to move into the larger space. This is what, so my sister's the manager of Rena Center in that same plaza. And they wanted to move into the larger space, and that was not an option for them. So,
Yeah, because we always had to wait a long time.
Right, it seemed like it was very busy.
Yeah.
Well,
seemed like it always was.
Never mind.
I think, I see the Welcome Center being really helpful between Swanton and Highgate, catching border traffic and people coming. But the only thing I was thinking is, a lot of people are getting off in Swanton and going to New York. And so having the Welcome Center between Swanton and St. Albans allows people coming to and from Canada, but also catches the people getting off or getting on in Swanton that are coming from New York, welcoming them to Vermont and things that we offer too. So I just, I see the traffic getting off in Swanton and going Route 78 to New York, So I just feel like a lot of traffic might be missed between the Highgate border and the Swanton border, and Swanton exit, I mean.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that because you're absolutely right, and it's coming from the west, going to 89. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of tourist traffic. So if it's not in an area that's gonna pick up 78 too, then it's not gonna be as effective as it could be.
The Alberg rest area is proposed to stay open. So you would
But it's
catch-
not a welcome center.
Well, I mean, what's the definition of a welcome center? I mean,
Well, it's like the ones you were talking about at the, everywhere else on coming into Vermont,
Yeah.
they got a big place, with the brochures, everything, well, and adequate parking, for RVs, buses, things like that. That's what I would consider a welcome center.
Can we define that a little bit more, just to be clear? So I know what the Alberg Welcome Center looks like. It's like a building you go in and you get information. And then, for example, there's rest area. There's rest area and welcome center. Would it be more like a gas station with, pamphlets of different things? Or would it just be similar to the Alberg building where it's welcome, come in and get information?
not for me to answer.
I was just
But-
gonna say you.
But-
The Alberg Rest Area, I think, is open 3 days a week.
But let me, to your point, so Joel, there's a study that's been done, it talks about rest areas and welcome centers. It talks about which ones need work, which ones would be closed, all that. I can send you that report, share it with the committee, so they have a better understanding about what the expectations are, and what the state's plans, because within that, I think they want to close 3 or 4 rest areas or welcome centers. I consider them both in some ways one and the same.
Right.
But that report will, it's an easy read, and it does talk, Earl, to your point about, they track the amount of brochures that are taken from different spots, and Alberg does have a pretty high count, if I'm not mistaken, of brochures that are distributed through them.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic.
But I can send that to you and you can share it. It's not my decision.
Can I just ask one clarifying question? Ed, you were talking about how no cars ever stopped. I'm just curious how long ago that was, and also what did it look like? Was it more of a pit stop for people, or was it kind of a welcoming place?
More of a pit stop. I mean, you're there, you want to be at your lake, you can't, half an hour, you wanna be in Burlington, half an hour to an hour, I mean, it's.
But how long ago was it that people didn't stop by?
You have a restroom, yep, right down the end of the building.
So,
But things have changed, so I was just wondering how long ago did that, I'm not from here originally. I thought it was here when I moved here, but when did it close? 30 years ago?
no, it wasn't that long, they tore it down 12, 15 years ago,
Yeah,
maybe.
Oh, that's,
But you bring up a good point, Terry, which I failed to mention, so I-35 is gonna
Yeah.
come into the
Right.
I-8, and there's a lot of improvements going on there. So the land where the old rest area was is being sort of taken over for truck traffic and other things. But the projections are that once that I-35 is open, 30% of traffic going down through Champlain and 30% of the traffic going into coming through Derby now will choose to come down through Highgate. So substantial amount more cars, substantial amount more population potentially coming down through Highgate when I-35 is done and the border improvements are done.
that's great.
So there's that you have to be prepared for in some form or fashion.
So it's 6:42, so I'm gonna be mindful of the time, but I did wanna ask Tim, as you move ahead with these periodic meetings with stakeholders and certain, do you do newsletters or anything that like you could share with SEP that so we could just stay on top of what you're talking about? Or is there anything, and also is there anything SEP can do to help you?
I'm sort of hesitant to ask this, does anyone get our newsletter?
But if,
Yes,
Yeah, who's that? Yeah, the one, yes, there we go.
I get from Elizabeth, so.
So we should have all your addresses and put you, we do a quarterly newsletter.
okay,
So you all should be on that list.
I can send you my address if that works.
Elizabeth,
I'll send it to Elizabeth, yeah.
she's in charge of the newsletter.
Well, we get the Swanton newsletter. We don't get this. Okay, but okay.
Well, we should be
Yep.
stealing the Swanton email list and adding it to ours.
And the other thing I wanted to ask real quickly is, you're involved with the Working Communities Challenge team, right? The thing that the Federal Reserve is doing.
I'm on the peripheral.
You're on the peripheral, which is,
Elizabeth is more active in that.
yeah, that the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston has given $360,000 grant to the Northwest region to work on, right, their most
Yeah, the money
formidable
comes-
problems, and now it's housing, and the money is over 3 years, yeah.
Right, the money is funneled down through regional planning.
Yeah.
They've hired a coordinator to focus on housing projects or housing
Yeah.
infrastructure, I guess, so
Yeah.
he's, I didn't get a chance to participate, but my wife got on the webinar last night, was on accessory housing, accessory buildings, which said it was very good. So that's some of that information that he has brought together and is trying to educate housing up to. And housing's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I had a conversation with an individual who owned 10 acres and wanted to put 10 houses on the property. And he met with an engineer, and the engineer told me that before he even started building one house, the cost was gonna be $600,000. So that was infrastructure, that was engineering, that was everything. Divide that, easy math, divided by 10, and your one house is $60,000 before you even put a shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
And that's all permitting, and that's all everything that we're faced with.
But I think the great part about this conversation, that exercise that Northwest is going through, Franklin County Caring Communities, the silos are coming down because everybody realizes everything is connected. You can't just focus on industrial development. For your board to, not that you're leaving it behind, but you realize there are a whole lot of other necessities feeding into that success.
So Debbie, to answer your question, yes, we can keep informed of what those conversations are and where they're headed.
It's great.
Okay.
And I probably should make sure to copy Elizabeth on our meeting minutes and things like that, so you know the things we're working on. Okay.
Well, now you
I
have
would-
2 secretaries who do that.
Well, thank you.
I would just say, our annual meeting is November 10th, 4:30 to 6:30 at the museum in St. Albans. We are giving out two awards. One is a Workforce Investment Board Award. So the company we're recognizing is Handy Toyota, for all of the internships that they do with high school kids to go in and work in the shop and other areas. And then the other one is Met Associates in Georgia, for their community involvement with Green Up Day, Bud Day, playground construction that they've done at the complex. No cost, but anyone, just call the office. And
Where is it gonna be?
At the museum.
St. Albans Museum?
And the food is really good there.
The tech center will be doing the,
Oh.
Nice.
your spread's pretty good here though, Mo.
I know, this is,
This
has
is
everyone
good.
had food?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, we need to have
We need-
people grab some.
Yeah.
Feel free to get up, you don't have to, like, get up and go and grab some food, and you don't need to sit here through the whole thing.
So I hope I
Thank you.
covered everything you had hoped.
Are you leaving?
I was going to get food.
Oh.
So, we'll move on, we're a little bit behind, but we'll move on to the committee chair and stakeholder reports, and we'll try to keep these really brief. So community and economic development, Darcy?
We had one brief meeting, talked about some goals for the fall. We're gonna do the Small Business Saturday raffle again. So I'll be hitting up local businesses in the next couple of weeks. If anybody's unfamiliar, last year we did a huge raffle. Businesses donated. We ended up with like 8 big gift baskets, and it encouraged folks to go to more than one business to get entered into the raffle prize. I don't know how many hundreds of people signed up, but I know one place had a box about this big full of names for all their customers, so it was awesome. It was a great turnout. That's all we have planned for right now. We did the food truck Sundays this summer with the rec department, and that was a hit. I don't know what the future will hold with that.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
All right. Healthy communities, substance use, Crystal.
Yeah, so we have been working pretty closely with Nicole at the rec department, and we have new data coming out from the Vermont Youth Project surveys, as well as the youth risk behavior surveys, kind of countywide. We're waiting on the countywide data right now. Just a lot of things that are happening within the various communities, especially around the youth project, and thinking about the ways that we can support youth as they come out of the pandemic, finding a lot of really intense mental health needs, and just requests for connection. The opposite of addiction is connection. So kids want to be connected again, and Abby's doing a phenomenal job here at the library with offering opportunities for youth to reconnect, as is Nicole with the rec department. And we're really excited. We're kicking off a Junior Teen Institute program, so bringing middle school students into the leadership roles. So Nicole's going to be bringing a group of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders down to the Holbrook Center with my organization, Caring Communities, to start teaching them some youth leadership skills. So a lot of really exciting things happening. Everyone I think probably saw from our email, or Debbie's email that came out, but also I've seen a lot of information coming out from Swanton around the town plan. So there's an opportunity for us to really think about the ways that we protect young people in the planning process as well. So thinking about things like content neutral ad restrictions and buffer zones. You know, we saw this summer a possibility of a cannabis shop opening up, and that opened up a lot of discussion about how we can protect young people from the legal substances.
Thank you. Beautification, Hank.
Yeah, hi, real quick, Linda Wirtz and Shelley Robtoy are on our committee. We had a count of over 45 beds or pots, planters, that we maintained over the late spring and early summer into the fall. And these two people were very instrumental in beautifying our downtown. And we made a presentation to the select board and to the village trustees to take a look at beautification as an elementary part of economic development, right? Making the center of our community more welcoming, not only to visitors, but to the citizens themselves, making things pleasant and beautiful with roadside trees, street side trees, and flowers. So we asked for some monetary help. There's a question of our ability in coming years to keep up the level of maintenance that we've been doing. So we're looking for some serious help, volunteers and financial assistance. But congratulations to all of them.
I don't want to screw up any order that you might have, but I can plug some stuff that the Chamber and Historical Society are doing.
Yep.
Okay.
That's great. Wait,
So
are we
the
there?
Swanton Chamber of Commerce, Halloween in the Park, coming up August 29th at 5. We should have a witch dance and trick or treats and all that good stuff. I'll be doing the trick or treats for the Chamber of Commerce. Thanksgiving in the park, not Thanksgiving, Christmas in the Park is coming up later in November. I'm a little fuzzy on the date, but it should be coming up in late November.
It's usually Small Business Saturday. isn't
It is, yeah, I think it's the 26th.
26th, yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah,
Saturday
26th.
after Thanksgiving every year.
Yeah, Saturday after Thanksgiving. And so that's coming up. Historical Society, we're opening up the room in the library every Wednesday. I'm usually there pretty much every other week. Wednesday from 10:30 to 12:30. Other people have different hours. You would want to contact Jason Barney to see if you can get those hours, or Abigail should have a schedule as well, you know. But yeah, Jason Barney would be the best person, but I'm usually there from 10:30 to
We know the
12:30.
day of. If you know you're coming and you want to call the day of, we could tell you.
And other than that, the Swanton Historical Society, there's no real events coming up. They're closing up soon, the museum, if they haven't already.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Communication, Siobhan.
Hello.
Hi.
So if I may, because I did my communications thing and I reached out to a few people, I knew Jay wasn't gonna be able to be here, and I told Nick about the meeting as well, with communications, and here he is, now he's able to give us information on things. But I asked Joanne if she would write something about the Swanton Arts, so that they could still be heard and represented, because just because they're not here, because they're busy, they still are doing a lot, so I'm gonna read, what she wrote.
Are we on Arts Council now?
Yeah, we're just gonna
Okay,
do arts.
You wanna do Arts Council, okay.
And then I'll ramble into communications.
Okay.
So she writes, the Swanton Arts Council, SAC, has had so much growth and positive change in Swanton over the last 7 years. We became a 501c3 nonprofit organization and created some art installations in the park, such as giant pinwheels for Halloween in the park and other holiday displays. We also established some ongoing projects, Emerging Artist Award for high school seniors, Edwin Church Award, Youth Art Show, awards for local students who participate in the National Arts Honor Society. Art journaling pre-COVID started as a social event at the library, but when COVID hit, it became an online event and a way of connecting with attendees from Quebec to North Carolina while sharing our creativity. Through some generous grants and donors, we offered free or low-cost art classes to the community throughout the COVID shutdown. In addition, we funded some of the take and make kits offered through the Swanton Public Library. We are looking for people who love art and want to set the direction of SAC for the future. We are looking for people with some of the following knowledge and skill sets: accounting duties, administrative duties, artists, crafters, interested in providing / organizing classes, programming of various mediums, fundraising, art, craft organizing experience, grant writing, out-of-the-box thinkers / creatives, anyone who wants to lend a hand. Please consider attending SAC's annual meeting on December 5th. If you are interested in joining the board of directors or simply want to be a part of this wonderful community group, all are welcome. In addition, have you noticed the lovely art boards placed around Swanton? The Swanton Public Art Network is an offshoot of the Arts Council. SPAN has hosted some art social events where community members gathered to paint the boards. They have had some recent artwork updates and invite you to visit their website to find out how you can add your creative flair to these beautiful boards. Next spring, they plan to paint the public restroom building at the Swanton Beach and would like participation from the community to plan and execute some murals. All are welcome. spanforart.org. And we have a printed one off here somewhere for you to just, if you wanted to take it.
Okay,
include
I
in
can
minutes.
include it, okay.
Yeah.
And quick update on the communications.
So most of my communications, I've been doing so by, spreading communication by a lot of word of mouth. At the same time, gathering information on the ways communication flows in the community. I myself only pretty much use the Facebook platform as far as social media and Gmail. Maddie has joined our committee. So she's agreed to join us. Having a youth voice with knowledge of other social media platforms will help to reach more of our community. I've also been using Northwest Access TV's equipment, as you see, to capture community events. This obviously helps to share events and happenings of SEP with the community, especially those who can't attend meetings such as this. As far as the newsletter, I haven't really done anything with the newsletter yet. I did get some quotes about what printing would cost. I know that Nicole had also mentioned that she could probably come up with, a draft idea of them printing it and what it would cost, and it might in the long run be cheaper in general because it's not for profit as a business. I would like to, you'll be getting emails from me, Maddie, because I'd like to start setting meetings for you and I to start working together, start working on, figuring out a newsletter and what that would look like.
Siobhan, regarding the newsletter, so Elizabeth does a monthly.
The email one, this is the written one that we were talking about on July 7th.
Right, but it seems like you don't wanna, you almost wanna take that and not reinvent the wheel, but somehow use that as a, I don't know if,
Well, not everybody uses the internet, so.
No, but if we could,
If you could put it on a different
Basically,
platform.
just print it out.
and
Is
put
what
it
I'm
on-
saying.
Oh, yeah.
because it's already
Just print it that way. I agree.
And the other thing too, though, is sometimes I forget to send out that monthly reminder towards the end of the month, but Elizabeth works on that the last week of every month. She tries to get it out that last week, so whatever is going on in all of your groups,
Yep.
Send that news to her. That is the best way to get it out.
I've done that actually. I've sent her the age well and she added it right in there
Yeah,
for
she
us.
does. It's really nice.
So on the internet side though, as we learned, Facebook has its own SEP, Facebook thing, and I was like, oh man, we have that, and then I look back, I actually already liked the page, so, and then I started inviting tons of people, so now I have a bunch more people, I'm gonna keep pushing it, but if whoever's adminning could
Figure out how to get.
add Maddie and I, and
Yep,
then we can start using that, and then,
Have you liked the page too? How do I do that? We'll talk about that after.
yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm still learning too. But like I was saying, because I've done a lot of just going out there and taking pictures of events and things we've done, and I've shared it on the local Swanton Community Discussion Group page. and that's great, and I'll continue to use that, but I'd like for us to be able to use our organization's, you know, Facebook page to show what we're doing, you know, and also share other community events as well. Questions about the internet newsletter that Elizabeth Nance sets up. How does one sign up for it? I'm already signed up for it. I don't even know how I did that. But how do we get other people?
And that could go to the community engagement topic that we have coming up.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about that, like getting more people on that. And also, Crystal had mentioned too, every month getting a bunch of copies of that to the
Food shelf?
to the food shop and getting it in there. And oh, do you print it out or?
No, but we should. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Or at least print one copy and have it posted near our events of what's going on.
As far as communications aspects of the volunteer fun fair, I just want to say, like, obviously we didn't get the community out. It was rain. We couldn't fight. We can't fight the rain, right? So, but we did get a sign up for Swanton Methodist Thrift Shop, and now she's over there volunteering. And I know you said you wanted to kind of revamp the volunteer fun fair thing here tonight, but I mean, we're already volunteers here, so. But I would like to continue that, and I do have a little bit of video I took with the Northwest camera, and I'll clip that into a little thing and push that. A separate idea I had was, and I'd like your guys' opinion on this, I've talked to a few of you, but I know we have cork boards around town at different businesses. I'd like to formulate that and organize it a little better and create essentially a community cork board network where, you know, the idea is to get local businesses that have cork boards to add their name to a list of others creating the network. That itself can help promote such boards' usage. We already have them, people do use them. I think that if we organize and promote usage, it could only be more beneficial to community communications and maybe even spur more usage, as well as then having one online that's a virtual community cork board thing. I've already got a couple of people that are in agreement.
Should only we sort of have to. Sorry, I know we're so behind, but
We're always so behind
I know.
communications. I do have one last thing I would like to say though. After the volunteer fair, I was contacted by Red Cross, and they'd like to partner with us to do a blood drive in Swanton. So if we could think about that and organize something for Red Cross and a blood drive, I think that would be great. And seen.
It sounded like you're looking for outlets for the printed newsletter? And what else?
No, we were just not necessarily.
Print it out.
Yeah, kind of like what's on there, but
How
in
many-
like a newsletter form.
How many did you say at the food shelf?
I would say at least 100 at the food shelf, because we're serving anywhere between 150 and, depending on the day or the month, 300 families.
Well, the only reason I ask is I'm gonna put my mayor's hat on now. So the city of St. Albans sends out a quarterly water bill. Every time the water bill goes, it's one sheet of paper. And what we started doing 5 years ago was putting a newsletter in. It doesn't cost anything extra, other than just getting it in the envelope. You're paying for the one stamp. You can send that newsletter out, and you would be amazed at the number of comments I get and the appreciativeness. And it's mainly the senior population,
Yep.
which leads me to believe
Yeah.
they're not online, they're not on Facebook, no,
Right.
but I get compliments all the time thanking me for the newsletter and their ability. So if you have, and I get the water bills from Swanton, I think you could have that conversation.
I think also like updating our website, because that was the first thing I started creating the infographic pages. That was the first place I went, was the website, and it's lacking. So, once we get, that updated, the newsletter could live on the website as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I know we're running behind, but
Oh, sorry.
I'm sure, I don't know if everybody's aware, but the town is committed to completely redoing our website. We're gonna bring in professional people, it's gonna be managed, we're gonna, yearly, all software updates will come in, it's not gonna be like it is now. And it's our hope that, we'll be able to have all organizations that are here in the town people wanna find out something, they can go to that site and get it. You know, working with the village trustees, do we wanna do this as one Swanton site?
That's really good. That's very nice.
Yes.
And we're really, at least I'm really committed to it, so hopefully it will happen. But we did have a consultant give us a presentation the other night, and everybody was just really impressed.
And Earl's a great spokesperson because he says, I never use that stuff, but I know it's really important. So it's perfect. Perfect.
That's perfect.
It might also say November 5th at the Village Green, flags are gonna be put up for Veterans Day. So they'll be looking for volunteers and help for that. They'll be taking them down on Sunday the 13th. And adding to the planning stuff for the South District of Swanton, November 16th, the Swanton Town Planning Commission is doing a public forum with recreation and housing. So it's gonna be a discussion continued from yesterday's. And that'll be the Southern Growth District that we all got that email about. And take your surveys, please.
Yeah.
Okay, MVSD, Terry.
Okay, I have this that I will add to the minutes, so that people don't, so I don't have to tell everybody everything tonight. But I do want to just hit on certain topics in case people don't, or headings, and so people will know what to look for, because a lot of this information is on the website, but how many people really go to the website? So, well, of course we will for the town. I just mean, you know, most people aren't perusing websites to find out a lot of information here about the school. But there is, Chris, who's the principal at Swanton Elementary, wanted me to make sure to remind everyone that the Title I school that we are, the Title I schools in our district, it's very important that people show up to the November 8th meeting at 6 p.m. It's Tuesday, November 8th. And part of the funding from Title I, we're across the board school, so we get funding for everybody, not just targeted students. And so it's really important that parents be engaged in the whole process. And that's why they have these meetings, because to give input. Because the school can't just tell you what they're going to do. It's important to get input from families and parents. So if anybody needs to advocate for anything, that's a good time to do it. And then also parent-teacher conferences are coming up. But we do have a way to look at how the ESSER funds have been spent over the district. There's a lot of money that's gone into the recovery and continuous improvement. I've got a list, and I'll put that in the minutes too as a heads up. Truancy is huge, as people know. It's having big impact, but they're doing stuff about it. And Swanton School is improving in their truancy. Still a long way to go. It kind of goes back to what you all were saying about the belonging and the lack of connectedness. So along with that is the emotional learning and mental health, and thank goodness we've really done a concerted effort on that, because student mental health in general has been a major problem or challenge. Anyway, so we're doing things with that, putting money into that, and then academic achievement. I've got a list of some of the goals that they had in terms of academic improvement, and we've met some goals, but not far enough. So we have, we have the STAR 360 that they measured in the fall, this winter, and the spring, and to see some of the changes. Obviously, they've gone up mostly positively, but we still have a long way to go. And we're changing. We're revising K-6 reading and writing curriculum and trying to find out what works best. And so the funds have really been helpful in terms of making things better. Then the other thing is we have a new mission statement that we're working on doing the graphics for. And I just have to read it to you now because I think it's really a good one. I should have it memorized, but the Missisquoi Valley School District supports students in finding success along the path they choose, guided by our portrait of a graduate. And I'll send you information, but we're really emphasizing at MBSD we have high expectations for students, staff, and community, enthusiasm for teaching and learning, and a culture of excellence. And the reason I'm really happy about that is because I think we've always been really good or committed to making sure students feel like they're emotionally supported. And I think it's really important now that we have really high expectations that students are all expected to do as best as they can do. So I will send these out in the minutes.
Thank you.
And I do appreciate a couple people gave me input today on things that they would like to hear. So I think that my job here is not to just give you information, but to hear from you all, what needs to change, what needs to improve. Thank you.
Okay, down to the library, Abby.
So I created this little infographic, and I'm just gonna read a couple of my favorite things that we've done in the last couple months. We had 147 participants, wow, I can't talk today, in summer reading this year, which is up from last year, and the highest we've ever had. We have handed out 711 books to local kids so far this year, and we haven't even done Halloween in the Park yet. That's our biggest handout of books. Just this month alone, we had 63 kids at our teen night, which is huge for us. That's incredible for us. And my other favorite thing that's happening right now is we have a consistent group of about 20 senior citizens that come here 4 times a week and do different, we have some workout groups who meet here for senior citizens. We have some, the library sponsors an event specifically it's all different things. It's crafts, it's presentations, it's all different things. And it's regularly attended by 20 or so senior citizens, which I think is incredible.
4 times a week?
4 times a week they're here. That's it for me.
Can I just say a quick thank you to Abby for hosting us tonight and for setting up this arrangement, and just really wonderful how you're engaging so many people in the community. It really does make the library the community center it should be. So thank you.
Will you share that infographic, and Terry, your handouts too? I want to make sure to attach it to the. Okay.
And once again, I'd like to make you aware of another thing. The select board did approve the funding to redo the roof.
Oh, I know, and I'm very happy about that
Just
as
so
well,
everyone
yes.
knows, and we're having the heating system investigated.
Yes.
You know, we plan on making sure the building is well taken care of.
And I have one more very exciting thing. We also just got a grant to put a partition here, a big glass, the whole wall right there is gonna be glass with 2 double doors coming into the children's room.
Oh.
Which will be huge for the library as well.
Wow.
So, big things happening here.
That's great. Okay, the rec department, and Nicole had to go to a concert, so, but do you want to talk about some of the things you're doing with the rec?
Sure. The rec and I are working together. Zumba is happening now because of the recognized partnership. I know both Nicole and I are partnering with the school again to have Crossroads kids in both of our spaces. I know I have them here twice a week, and I think she does as well. She's also been partnering with Abenaki Tribal Council to do, there's like an adult cooking class, there's been journaling, there's been some walking things. She also has a separate adult walking group. We are getting a rink again this year, I know that.
Nice.
Very exciting. A big rink, and she's also planning like some outdoor skating and like hot cocoa, and I think we're gonna be there doing like an indoor story time and a whole bunch of different cool things that the rec and I are working together on.
That's great.
Should we just plant the seed a little bit about the rec community center? Because the select board has put aside a significant amount of money right now.
Do you want to talk?
And I want to plant the seed now because it's going to take a while to get this project, if we're ever going to do this for Swanton. The select board graciously put aside a fair amount of money, but it's going to take more than that. But we're going to get the design started and the permitting started, because that is a long process in itself. And if we're going to go to the taxpayers down the road for a possible bond vote, we need to get some very accurate prices through the design. So I'm helping the select board and shepherding a project to build a community rec center over near the rec fields that would have about 3,600 square feet of organizational space, just various rooms people could do different things in, and then about a 5,600 square foot, essentially a gym, elementary school sized gym.
that they could rent out for quite a bit of the time, but also conduct some of their programs. Make a much larger facility where they can get people inside during inclement weather when they're having their summer camps and things, but something that could be used year-round, and basically it's from ages 1 to 101. It's for everybody, for different things.
Because you know
So
that
it-
gym at the smaller elementary school, they have to be really careful about letting lunches come in and all that kind of stuff, so it'd be nice. to-
All right, it would be a great improvement to the capabilities of this community and working in conjunction, because I look at this place as being a community center.
Yeah.
We're not trying to take away, but we're just trying to grow and make it bigger. So, working and trying to make that a success.
Has the village itself, like, promised any money of ARPA towards the community center? Is it just the town itself? Does anybody know?
I'd like to address that issue, Joe. The community center would be for all of Swan. So in reality, it should be a general fund, because everybody pays in on the general fund, whether you live in the village or the town, because it's a benefit for all the people of Swan. So, you know, as far as the ARPA money, no, the village, and they haven't even been asked to put any in. They have agreed to a 99-year lease on it, because the village does own that property. It was deeded to the village. So that clears any issues if we have to finance it.
Thank you. My last note was actually, can't wait for that community center.
Okay, so that, is the rec department. I think it's just interesting, a lot of what we're talking about here, like our groups here are working together, and I think that's one of the great things that SEP has done over the course of the last several years, is to get people thinking about coordinating efforts. Okay, historical, Town of Swanton, would you like to speak to that, Earl?
Yes.
Update? You'll see at our last meeting, our July meeting, Brian spent a long time talking about, you know, a lot of the town issues of public meetings and the use of ARPA funds, but we'd love an update.
Well, you know, there has been the most significant commitment of ARPA funds so far by the town has been for the community center. You know, we plan on paying for the website with that fund too. You know, the other thing that we're considering, and you know, we don't have a great plan yet. You know, some vision. I think maybe some money, if we need to do some money to help with the planning, that all the communities here, St. Albans City, St. Albans Town, and the corporation, our development corporation, are participating in. We'll be participating in that too, to do that master plan. I think some of the money, you know, we're coming into the budget time, so I aren't gonna make any promises anywheres, but I believe that your request for beautification, you know, some of that money will be coming from ARPA funds.
Nice.
Other than that, there are some potentially road projects that we may try to do with that. We're also looking at maybe if there's something that can improve the downtown area that we could get involved in, that might be a good use of those funds, but we don't have it on the table. The other discussion has been around maybe some kind of revolving loans fund, but that doesn't seem to be something you can really do with the ARPA funds. But maybe a grant program for the downtown. If local business owners wanted to make some improvements on their properties, maybe we could grant some money out of the ARPA funds to make it feasible for them to do it. You know, we are concerned, and we want to improve the downtown area. We want to see it be better. I think it brings a lot to Swan and makes Swan a lot more attractive, you know, for people to want to live in this community. We have a, you know, a healthy little Vermont. downtown. We don't want St. Albans City. Because, you know, that's good, you know, it's there, but there could be things here too that make Swanton attractive for families. We're gonna invest, we are investing some money in the Laval, the rail trail, very important thing. You know, that's gonna provide a lot of access, recreational opportunities that young people today are taking more advantage of than, you know, what we used to do. I mean, it's a big thing now, and it's probably gonna be bigger in the future because, you know, it's a healthy and it's good for the environment. You know, walk and bicycle and stuff like that, and you're gonna see growth in that area. So those are the areas that we've already, that's not gonna take the total funds, and maybe more of that money could end up going into that community, you know, when all things get said and done. We don't, you know, but we hate to commit too much up front, and then, you know, if something that was needed in the downtown, the other thing that, you know, I bring this up every meeting, but is childcare. You know, if we could use them ARPA funds to leverage some kind of center that could be built here in Swan, a good, high-quality daycare center that someone could run. It wouldn't be the town running it, but, you know, because that's very important. That is something there that would definitely make Swan very attractive for families. But, you know, those are the ideas that are out there. We have time, we don't have to spend it, you know, we don't have to have it all committed till 2024, and then it's longer than that to get it spent. So, the priorities right now are the community center, the website, downtown or southern growth district almost going together. And, you know, we want to, if we can make the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail a bigger asset to Swan, that's the next one on the list. After that, we're kind of open. So that's what's committed right now.
Handicapped accessible in stores and restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to think of somebody riding a bicycle for the handicapped from Morrisville here, and then he can't get off his bicycle to go into a restaurant and get something to eat, you know?
Yeah, that you know, that trail is an important thing for Swanton. You know, access to downtown from that trail is going to have to be considered. You know, as something that might need some additional funding to make it more attractive. So this is where we are right now.
I have one more thing, sorry. I just want to shamelessly plug, we got a grant to do a welcome baby event, and we're doing it on November 19th, and I would love for anyone in this room who had something that they wanted to be included. So what it's gonna be is it's gonna be like a social here for any baby born in 2022. And it's going to be like food, and they're gonna get a little bag with like a hat that the knitters group here made, some books, and most importantly, materials on things that are available in this area. So I would love, any community partner wants to give me some information to put in these bags, I would love that.
Moving on to the new business, Molly, do you want to speak to the community engagement? And then the other one was the Southern Growth District info update, which was yes.
I'm on that.
You want to do that one? Okay. Molly, do you want to speak to community engagement, or do you want to add to, okay.
Why don't we do the Southern Growth first? Is that which?
So this is from last night's meeting, right? There was it yesterday that there was a meeting?
Last night, I think.
Okay, so.
All right. I happen to serve as chair of the Swanton Planning Commission, my name. Right now, my name's Ed Daniel, native of the town. We're off and running this week especially. It's been a little tough to get organized because there's only two of us who have been on that committee for any length of time. And the administrator, I guess for lack of another term, from regional planning is new. It's his first task at doing one of these town plan reviews as well. So he's had to feel it, we've had to feel it a little bit. So we're probably a little bit behind time, but I think we're catching up now. On the town website now is a questionnaire that's posted there, and you can, I don't know if you can answer it online or you have to go to
You
paper.
can, you can.
You can, okay,
You can.
We
because
sent it-
yesterday you couldn't do that, but today.
Elizabeth sent it, and then we forwarded it around to all of our groups.
Yeah.
I think we're forwarding it to our, within our groups, right, as far and wide as we can.
And there'll probably be a few more coming before it's over with. But our priority this year is the Southern Growth District. If you don't know where that is, that's, take the Highgate St. Albans Road, and where, I know his name as much as I'm sitting here, where the gentleman has a little planetarium in the backyard, or basically south of Ceres Drive, in that area up to St. Albans is the Southern Growth District. And we started on that 20-something years ago. A lot of time and effort put into do it, a lot of rough meetings, but we got it established. And we thought that we'd have a couple of hotels up there by now, motels, a couple of car dealerships up there by this time, but that hasn't happened. St. Albans is not going to sell us water for a motel in Swanton when they've got a brand new hotel that they're selling water to. I mean, you know.
I don't know that.
You don't know that, huh? I'm sure. I think there's already one that was ready to go and they're gone. I'm sure I understand why. But anyway, we thought there would be new garages and stuff like that. No, that's on Route 7, close to Swanton, but it's on Route 7. So what do we want out there? What have we gotten in 20 years? One small neighborhood store, one auto body parts store, or repair shop, whatever it is. That's basically it. And we've got some good land out there, but we don't have any water or sewer. And that's the big item. What do we want out there? Community homes for the elderly? An apartment house for the elderly? Do we want, the young people are looking for affordable rent or property as much as anybody today. I don't think we'll ever see any stores come up north, move up the road. I mean, they've got enough vacancies in St. Albans now to fill those, and I'm sure everybody would be happy with that. So, do we want some nursing homes? Do we want a senior citizens home? Do we want young couples homes? I don't know. So that's why the survey is going out to you. Send in your answers. That'll give us something to do another week to sit there and decode all the answers.
What kind of feedback did you get at last night's meeting? That was the input meeting.
We were last night. I have not gone to my computer and looked at that today. I have a habit of go home, go to bed, I'll wake up and I'll worry about it the day after.
But you were meaning the input from the people who attended last
Wasn't
night.
it a meeting last night? An input meeting?
You know, how big a plot of land do you want people to have? Do you want them to have small lands? You know, some people, are we gonna have big garages out there? Well, there's probably room, but I'm not sure that's the main trade route in the community yet. We don't know. We got to figure out who are we going to partner with, or who are we going to build with, or are we going to go with a water and sewer system ourselves? They're not cheap. So there's different options available for us there. It could be a new water and sewer district. It could be partnerships. That's what we'll have a committee to go and look at.
Can I ask this, because I think I took that survey, but I don't recall ever thinking about what do we want to do with that southern part. I thought it was more,
I think it's
do you
the
want
town
housing,
plan.
do you want, I wasn't even thinking that the housing was going to be down there.
The survey that we were sent, that was sent around, was about the town plan. I think that's the one. we
Oh, so
got.
that's a different survey.
No, the one that I just sent yesterday was a town plan input survey, right?
But that's different than what you're talking about.
Well,
There's, you have two
we
things.
don't know what do we want to put there? Who wants to invest in what?
But I didn't get that from the survey.
No,
wasn't really
it
part
was,
of the survey that
it was a different thing. It wasn't focused
Yeah, it
on the
wasn't at
southern
all
growth.
focused on that, 'cause
But
that-
last night's meeting was.
Here's
Okay,
a
so
couple
it's a
of
new
paper
survey.
copies.
Yeah.
You
What
guys
do you
can
want,
take a
you know?
glance of-
I like that it's
That's
more
a-
directed at what do you want with the Southern Growth District. I didn't pick that up from before.
Paper copies just passed
I
around.
mean, you look at
Everyone
that new
wants to-
garage in St. Albans, that would look nice up on the hill by, the hardware store there or
I
something.
guess
you
it
know?
would help to know, like, what is it zoned for now?
We just passed.
Pardon?
around.
The Southern Growth District, are there
Oh.
zoning
Paper version
issues?
of the
Is it
same
zoned for
survey.
Multiple,
certain things?
multiple family homes,
Yeah, this is-
all sorts of things, but nothing's happening because there's no water and sewer.
Okay.
That's the big issue.
Brian had mentioned at the last meeting that, was it that you were speaking with St. Albans Town, is that right?
Well, there are many different options, I guess, at least a few of them, so.
The real intent with that land years ago was retail and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's what part of the zoning was, it was related to retail.
But could it be multifamily housing or
Yes,
hotel?
and I think
or-
that was listed as part of it as well, but
Yeah.
the whole thought is that would be the area because of what's already happened in St. Albans with the exit right there, that,
Yeah.
and we would limit it in size in the downtown of Swanton of how much you can grow,
Yeah,
but that was the spot to make it happen.
yeah.
And then a lot of dynamics related to the water, the sewer, but also just related to what's going on with retail
The
in
change
general.
in the environment,
Right.
yeah, sure,
It's,
that's great.
You don't know how many different definitions there are of car sales, automobile sales, truck sales, and what have you. I mean, there's hundreds of them that you go through, you know, as a permitted use, so. So, anyway, we're starting in on it.
Is the highway garage in town or Swanton?
The highway garage
You're
for
talking about
Swanton
St.
is
Al- that
right
Vermont,
out here, on
State
the
of
Route
Vermont
78.
highway garage,
By
Yeah.
the MBU.
that would be in Swan,
Yeah.
if it gets built. It would be in the Southern Gulf District.
So the state's looking at pulling the one off Lower Newton and putting it up in that area.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I know it's 7:32, so I wanted to give Molly a little bit of time here for the community engagement
Yes,
and the.
that would be great, but I'm eating some
Okay.
delicious buffalo wing. Thank you, Crystal. Anyway,
I have just one comment very quick. Where do we put most of our investment over the years? It's in the middle of a municipality, the downtown. Water, wastewater, streets, streetlights, sidewalks, a lot of investment goes there. And I would be in favor of a community looking at infill in the existing center of municipalities before reaching out and establishing something new without, certainly without a very good plan of what might happen there. So that's just a comment.
which you would have made last night if we had been at the meeting,
Yeah.
undoubtedly. I know Marie Fry was there. The Grapevine is going, has been talking about that conversation, but
Well, it's a conversation that we need to have as a community and,
Yeah.
to make a decision. And
Yeah.
what, as a elected official, and a member of the select board, if I'm looking at Swanton, and I'm looking at it from a sustainable, position, because I define sustainable as a place where my children can have the quality of life I had, or better, without having to move somewhere, and hopefully their children. But if that is gonna be the case, then there is gonna be growth, and that would be a sustainable growth. You gotta have a place for it. A lot of the other areas of Swanton are already permanently protected, either through the land trust or through the refuge. This is an area that has already been impacted by development. We can leave our natural areas, our ag land, even though that is prime ag land, but the other ag land that we have that's in the land trust will stay there. This will give us that opportunity. That's the way I'm looking at this, and I would assume it would be a mixed-use area. You'd have housing, probably multifamily housing, maybe senior housing. You'd also have some retail, and you'd also have some manufacturing. And there isn't a lot of other places in Swanton where that's gonna happen in the future because it's protected. Even land that you can say here, across the river on the former Bigelow farm, that's all in the land trust. So you're not gonna do much in that area.
Housing is so desperate.
Yeah.
A house goes on the market and you'll have 6 offers in 1 week, and it drives the prices so insanely high that it's causing people that have grown up here to have to move away in order to afford a house.
And some of those buildings downtown are the oldest buildings in the community. Do we want to see them just torn down and replaced by a little brick bungalow or something where somebody, you go up to the front window and they open the window and they give you your food and you move on? Or do we want a place where people can sit down? Our homes are historic homes in this area here. I think we need to really identify our historic districts with signs on the corners. We've had one, one of those things that gets done and been done. One of the historic homes of Swanton. On a weekend, they went out, they took off a beautiful second floor porch. Closed it in for a new room in the historic district. Well, they got their letter, cease and what have you. Well, what can we do? Well, you pay double the fine and you're allowed to leave it that way. So a building permit, which might have cost them $25, to probably make some changes to the outside. That can happen. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to close it in. So now they paid a $50 thing and they get to keep their changes. And I think we've got to be careful of this historic district. We get everybody closing those in. I think we ought to have a pretty damn high penalty for that, so that people will think twice before they go down. Just as we go home tonight, just look out these windows here at these places in this area. That's historic. I hope we don't destroy them, but excuse me for my editorial.
So we'll keep spreading the word in this group about the input for the town plan, input for the exit 20, the Southern Growth District. We'll do what we can to keep that word spread. So Molly, do you want to wrap it up for us?
Yes, thank you, sorry. Yes, so in terms of community engagement, we have all talked for a long time about expanding our numbers. We obviously have a very interesting and interested population who's really excited about good things happening in their community. So how do we get there? How do we get people to this table so that they can understand what's going on more broadly and can coordinate and break down those silos that a lot of you have experienced in your organization? Couple suggestions. One is our volunteer fun fair was fun, and the best part about it was due to Siobhan's work and a lot of our committee's work, Maddie and Abby and Crystal and Sandy, we got nonprofits here. We had 10 not-for-profits in this room, and who spoke to each other just like we're doing, and layering on and building up that work and making those partnerships happen. So I don't think we should give up on that idea of getting our nonprofit partners together. emulating NCSS. No, yeah.
We got a community partnership.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Second thing is, just operationally, you know, we've got these dedicated officers. We've got Joel and Debbie and Betsy, and now we have Terry and Siobhan. I would highly recommend that little executive group get together 2 weeks before a meeting and set up the agenda and have the secretary send it out. So we can't lean on one person all the time because nobody can withstand that, you know. And this is too important, I think, to let it go. This conversation, this communication, this wanting to support, you know, the Historical Society or whatever else we've got going on, Small Business Saturday. So I would suggest, operationally, if that were possible, then nobody's scrambling to, because you are all in the community and you know what needs to be done. So those are my two suggestions. Masses ended, go in peace, you know. But thank you, and thank you to Joel especially. And I know you don't like it, but it's tough when you do that much stuff. You've got to just say thank you, as my daughter would say, just say thank you, it's true.
I'm just gonna say thank you.
You're welcome.
More work to do.
Yeah, that's right.
I just quickly wanted to ask, so typically our meeting date is like November, January. Do we want to do a early December meeting and then go to February, or do we want to wait and go January, March? What does everyone think?
I'd like to suggest January. Let's work on our goals of what we're doing. Let's communicate together along the way.
Get through
Christmas.
December's too hard.
Okay.
I agree.
So we'll get back on our normal schedule and it'll be a January, March, May. Okay, I'll send out the meeting dates then.
Well, you'll get together with
Our
your
little group will get
executive
together
committee.
mid-December for a little time.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Just to say, make sure they have drinks involved.
You can share a little, because we've got some great doers here, and I know it, because I worked with them. They were amazing. Yeah, you don't, yeah.
Do you have,
You do
well,
too.
thanks everyone. This is great. Thank you again, Abby. This is really great. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. And eat, there's a lot of good stuff
Yes,
over
please.
there.